Hey everybody, I'm driving in the car and I'm just at a stoplight. I have about 15 minutes because traffic here is abysmal. So I wanted to, I had a couple requests to talk about hormone testing, and I wanted to kind of go over what it is that I do with testing and what it is that some other people do. And basically, there's three good ways, or not three good ways, there's three ways to ultimately do testing for hormones. One of them is going to be saliva. A lot of people have salivary testing done, but I've never been a huge fan of salivary testing because it really doesn't, it's not reproducible, meaning you can't take one saliva test and across the spectrum and have it be reproducibly as accurate from one patient to the next. The second thing is it doesn't match up always with hormone levels in the blood. And so, because, it's a very fickle test, it has to be done. You can't have any, hot or cold drinks in your mouth. It is good for cortisol levels, but as far as hormone testing in general goes, it's not very good at all. So I don't recommend or salivary testing, but there are other good tests to do. And the last thing on salivary testing is that you have to pay for it usually because insurance just won't cover it. So as far as the second, which I think is a better test, is serum or blood. And blood testing is what I tend to do in the office. I do it with perimenopause women. I do it with my Essure workups to basically look at balance. And the downside to serum, other than the needle in your arm, is that it basically takes a picture or a snapshot of you right then and there when you're having your blood drawn. And the downside to that is that your hormone levels might vary based on when you took any of your medications, of your creams, of your sublingual troches, or other sorts of hormones. So you just have to take it and look at trends. So what I would do is I would say I'd see on your first visit, draw a serum panel where I check estrogen, meaning estriol, estrone, sometimes I'll check those, or estradiol. There's three different types of estrogen: progesterone, free and total testosterone, serum hormone binding globulin, DHEA, thyroid, and let's see, I think that's it. And so we'll check those hormones and then have you come back in about 8 weeks after we follow up with recommended medication, whether I put you on a cream, and then see after the cream, was there a trend? Was there an uptick? Was something too high? Was something too low? So blood testing, a benefit to blood testing as well, is that it is usually covered by insurance. So for those of us that are paying some high premiums and want to use our insurance, that would be one way to go about things. But it is limited to the fact that it really only gives you what you are looking like right then and there when you have the test done. The ultimate, or the gold standard, has always been 24-hour urine testing. The downside to 24-hour urine testing was that you had to collect your urine for 24 hours by peeing into a bucket and then putting it in your refrigerator, which is a little bit cumbersome, a little bit gross. So there's a new company out called Precision Analytics that came up with a 24-hour test, but it's done by urinating on filter paper 4 times in one day. You put the paper back in the envelope that comes with the test, and they run your test that way. It's a test called Dutch urine testing, DUTCH, and it's probably the most accurate, in my opinion. It will test for the same hormones that I just mentioned, but it will give us the added benefit of testing not just those, but it will add cortisol, cortisone, and melatonin, which is an added bonus in my opinion, since melatonin is one of the best antioxidants that we have in our body. And so the Dutch test is unfortunately not covered by insurance. It runs somewhere around $250 to $300, give or take. It takes about 2 weeks to get the results back. But not only will you know your estrogen levels, You'll know your metabolite levels. You'll know if you're methylating estrogen into a more carcinogenic estrogen or a protective estrogen. You'll know pregnenolone levels. I tend not to do a whole lot with pregnenolone, but it can help if it's a very difficult case. And you'll know if you need to supplement with melatonin. You'll know your cortisol levels. Do you have too much cortisol from stress? Do you not have enough cortisol? So I prefer to go the route of doing the Dutch testing if a patient can afford it. I think it's way more valuable, and I think it gives us a lot more information that we can work with. So you've got saliva, serum, urine. I would say urine is probably my favorite. Serum is probably the most utilized simply because it is run through insurance, and you can certainly use serum. In a lot of cases, I'll go with serum first, and then I will follow up with urine if the case is getting a little more complex. And even in those cases, sometimes it's harder. Not everybody's easy to balance, but usually we can get it right. So in the instance where you want to have your hormones tested, I think it's a great thing to do. I think anybody that's having issues, what is hormonal imbalance? It's easy to throw around, but mood changes, irritability, irregular periods, insomnia, acne or breakouts, weight gain, weight loss, added stress in your life, which who doesn't have that? But there are many, many reasons why you should get your hormones tested. And if it's coded correctly and you're using insurance for serum, I think you're going to get some decent answers, maybe not everything you want. And you can't really test cortisol as well. Cortisol testing through blood is it's a fasting test in the morning, so it's a little more cumbersome. But if you're already going to be checking your lipids or something along those lines, then you can go ahead and do that. So what I would like is, if you have questions, since I obviously can't look at them now because I'm in the car, I would add those to the comments. I would be more than happy to answer them. And please let me know if you have any questions. And I can't turn off my